Hello everyone, today I'm here to review for you Dice Manor. This is the brand new dice-based bidding game from Arcane Wonders that plays with 2 to 4 players. Now this was sent to me as a review copy, but that doesn't change my thoughts and feelings. We're going to touch on roughly how the game plays to give you an understanding on how it all works, and then I'll give you my actual thoughts on the game. Let's jump into that. Dice Manor is a game all about building out your dice mana by acquiring tiles and then giving tours of them via these dice. You're also going to be doing advertisement, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. At the start of the 4 main rounds, you're going to turn a tile over into one of the 6 sections, each of them sort of around the board in the middle. Now, not all of these has a distinct shape, but they do have a distinct symbol, allowing you to know from which pile to add where. And that's going to be very useful for knowing how you're going to be bidding. So, on your turn, you roll all of your dice and you separate them into the different numbers. So let's say I've got 3 6s, 2 5s, and then the rest are all unique numbers that I've rolled. Well, I'm probably not going to use one of those ones I've only got one of, but I do have a bit of a choice. Do I place my 3 6s or my 2 5s? Because you choose a number and then you're going to add all of the dice into one of 3 locations, or you can sort of mix and match. So maybe I use those 3 6s. I use 2 of them to bid on the number 6 tile. Well, at the moment I'm winning that, but someone could swoop in later with 3 6s to win that off me. I could put the other 6 on the advertisement track and try and win some movement on that. That's going to not only per dice move a dice along the track, and that means I maybe have more dice in my pool for the next round. It's also going to get me some points. Or I could use that dice to give a tour in my Dice Manor. Now at the start you've got a starting tile that can just have any number added to it, but as you win those tiles this round, they'll add to your mana and then they'll have other numbers. So maybe they'll have a 1, a 6, a 2 or whatever that you can use to give tours. That's going to give you points throughout the game, maybe some re-roll tokens and stuff like that. But you're not going to do too much of that for the first couple of rounds because you're going to want to bid on those new tiles. So maybe I just put my 3 6s down onto the 6. I'm definitely, hopefully, going to be getting that unless someone outbids me. The next person rolls all of their dice and does the same. It goes around the table and back to me. I don't reuse the dice there, I pick them all up and roll them again, separating them out into the different numbers and choosing one number to use all of the dice of that type. I did allude to it slightly. You have these special tokens. You start with a couple and you can earn more throughout the game. You can trade them in to either add 1 or subtract 1 from a dice, and that rotates and flips around, so you can actually go from a 6 to a 1 or vice versa as well. Or you can use the same token to re-roll as many of your dice as you want. That's going to be quite helpful if you really want to bid on that number 4 tile, but I've only rolled 1 4. Well, maybe I just re-roll the rest because I've got loads of dice and hope that I'll get some more 4s to sort of do a big bid. At the end of the round, when everyone's used all of their dice, that's when you determine who's won the tiles. They're going to then add them to their mana and so on and so on. So each round you're going to gain tiles, give tours which are going to get you points, and you're building up almost until the final 5th round where you're just rolling your dice and trying to give your tour of your mana. The more dice you have, because you can unlock 2 more, maybe the more rooms or just the more chance of rolling the right numbers are coming up. Those inspiration tokens that let you re-roll or add or -1, well, if you don't win an auction for a tile because you've bid but someone's outbid you, you're going to get one, so you're at least getting something for that. And that's kind of how the game works. You're trying to get different colours of rooms because there's like a bonus for whoever's the most of certain colours. There's a bonus for having all different types of rooms, so the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 numbers are different types of rooms. Can you get 1 of each? Because that's a load of bonus points and so on, as well as how many of the rooms you can give as part of your tour on that final 5th sort of special round. Well, That all adds up to your score, and hopefully you can win. That's roughly how Dice Manor works. So the general premise of this is that dice bidding in the middle. I'm not a huge fan of dice, I always say that, but I do seem to lean into games that have a lot of dice, and that's because often dice can hate you that little bit. Well, in this you have a good amount of manipulation. Those tokens that you can add or -1 or re-roll, that's just the right amount of mitigation that you've got that choice to maybe use that extra dice or not use that dice as that number. You're then going to plonk that down and hope that someone doesn't outbid you. Now, it's interesting, at different player counts, you've got more or less chance of being outbid. At 2 players, you'd think that there's maybe that competition of, okay, you've bid there, I could outbid you, and it's worthless. But it does sometimes feel, if they've put like 2 dice down, 3 dice to take it off them, that's probably just about worth it. But they've already put 3 down. I'm not sure I want to waste 4 dice just to outbid you. Dial that back. When there's more players, if you're spending that many dice to take that 1 tile off someone else, everyone else around the table is basically benefiting from you doing something that you probably shouldn't have and outbidding them that way. So it works slightly different dynamic wise depending on your player count of how many overbids are happening. But it even works at, in fact it works very well at 2, which I wasn't kind of expecting. A bidding game with only 2 players, I thought it was going to be really sort of in your face, cutthroaty, but it does sometimes just feel like often you're like, okay, if you're bidding for that, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to try something different unless I really need that number 6 tile because I haven't got one yet and I'm trying to get 1 of each. Well, I'm probably going to just try and get more tiles than you. You bid loads to guarantee yourself that. Well, now I've got more dice, I can spread them out a bit. Maybe I can get 3 different tiles. You're only affording 2 because you've bid so high on them. So that central bidding mechanic works really well regardless of the player count. I'm not sure which one I like it at more. 2 players, you have that tight, interesting, opposite dynamic. As soon as you add more players, you've got the bids coming in from different people and it's like, okay, at least I'm getting this tile and stuff like that. So that's a really cool, the fact there's different places to bid. Am I bidding on the tiles? Am I just giving a bit of a tour to get points or whatever? Or am I like some small points because you get like 1 point per dice rather than at the end of the game it's like 3 or something like that points? Or am I going on that advertisement track? Points, but also the opportunity of unlocking extra dice to roll. More dice means a little bit more luck mitigation, and just generally, if you can get more dice than your opponents, maybe you can outlast them. So it's like, okay, you've spent all of your dice. I've still got a few left though. So maybe I can now spend my tokens and outbid you and you can't do anything about it. So I think a lot of people are going to really vibe with that dice bidding mechanic with the different locations you can go to. As I alluded to, you've got that really cool, interesting choices based off those bonus points. You're probably going to want 1 of each room, but can you try and make sure, say you've got the most red. Oh, I haven't got many yellow, but I've got a lot of red, so I'm going to get the bonus points for that. At lower player count, at the 2 player count, you've really got to watch those bonuses because that can swing the game one way or the other. When there's more players, it's like, okay, if I'm winning red, you've got not many. Oh, if I just pick up 1 more green, I'm gonna get the 2nd place bonus for that though, off you. One tile for that many points, that seems worth it. And that's some really cool choices that are driven by those bonus points. And it does direct you into sort of what you're going to do. That doesn't change. You're always going to want the most of as many colours as you can get. But the bidding around the table from the other players is going to make that feel a little different each game. And also the order the tiles come out. are there going to be more yellow tiles available? So maybe it's going to be easier or maybe harder because other people have snapped them up already. Well, some good choices based off those bonuses. And even though the bonuses don't change, just because of the way the tiles come out and the way everyone else bids, it still feels like each time a fresh competition, despite being for the same objective. Production-wise, it's a pretty decent one. You've got some nice thick tiles that are going to build out your mana. The dice are nice to roll. They're nice, vivid, different colours. There's no issue of, oh, these are both very similar, you know, like a red and an orange. So they're nice and easy to tell apart the different players' dice. It's never a case of you roll your dice, they go everywhere and you're like, oh, was that mine or your dice? No, you know you've somehow launched your dice that far across the table. Now, each of the tiles, the different colours, has like a different vibe. Like the green ones, they are a bit more gardeny and stuff like that. And there's some quite nice details on the tiles. But I must admit, once you're actually playing, you don't really notice that all that much. You notice the colour, you notice the symbol of the room, because that's what you're caring about for points, and you notice the number on the tile, because that's the number you need to roll for putting the dice on that tile as part of the tour. You don't notice much more than that. Even though the rooms have lovely little details, like the dining room's all set out and stuff like that, I often found, after sort of picking up the tile going, oh, that's nice, as soon as you've added it to your mana, you don't care. You care about its colour, you care about its position, its symbol, its number, and that's about it. And that's a bit of a shame because it does create sort of these still not really complete houses, these funky manors that you're just trying to fill. Now, the theming of building out a manor, it doesn't really do much. It kind of makes some rough sense of you're trying to give a tour of this manor, but you could have a manor that's just dining rooms effectively, and that's it, and that seems really weird. Maybe it should be more dice restaurant if that's what you've built than a manor, but that's, yeah, so that's a bit of a negative, that the theme makes some sense in terms of you're adding rooms together, you're maybe doing the advertisement track to advertise people to come and have a look at your manor, you're giving a tour of your manor, but it doesn't ever feel like you've really got a manor that you're giving tour of. It's just a collection of rooms that are adjacent to each other via the sort of tile placement. The tile placement aspect of the game, there is a very minor thing here. You look at it, you'd think you could almost just put any tile next to any tile, and it's not quite the case. You need to be able to make sure that a door leads to a door and not a wall when you're adding the tiles. And some of the weirder shapes, like the plus shape, does make it quite awkward, the fact that there's not always the right doors in the right places, but you can rotate the tiles. It just means that often you get it like sprawling out rather than like a condensed house shape. You do get a bit trailing off over here as you're just like, oh, that's a door to a door. Sure, that fits. I don't mind too much. The numbers are similar. So if I'm rolling twos, I can add the two twos there. That's absolutely fine. And I think that comes back to the fact that it makes it feel, again, a bit less like you're designing a house. It feels like you're just connecting rooms. So the tile placement has some restrictions, though it doesn't really make sense why those restrictions are really there, other than to make it a little more challenging to give a tour. That feels about it, and it just feels like it's one extra thing that you've got to think about that doesn't really make that much impact on the overall experience. So overall, there's a couple of little quirks, like the fact you're not really making much of a manor, and that tile placement has a little extra rule that you just need to sort of remember. But apart from that, I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy that central mechanic of roll your dice and use all of one number. How you're going to use all that one number, are you going to split it up? Are you going to do a bit on advertisement, a bit of a tour? Maybe next time I'm going all in on bidding on that tile and hope no one outbids me. I really like that aspect, and I think it's super easy to teach to anyone, that almost anyone can play this. It's maybe a step above a gateway game, but it's really not much further, because you could very much easily, after a little bit of teaching, teach this and play this with pretty much anyone. And anyone's going to enjoy it. Whether you're a gamer or sort of just a family gamer sort of person, you can enjoy that central bidding because you're trying to outbid each other, and there's the real fun from that. So the core of it is a really great experience. And that's Dice Manor. Well, let me know if you've played it in the comment section below. What did you think of it? Let me know if this review has been helpful to you at all. And until next time, thanks for watching.